All right, hello, this is Jeff Scott of Blackhawk Technical College. Today is Monday, November 30th, and unfortunately for me, today when I came into work, I forgot to bring the microphone with me. So the lecture that I gave for class this morning, I'm retaping it right now. All right, so the first thing that we did was we went out to right here. We went out to the P drive, CIS, JPS Spring Books, JPS Spring 2016 Books, SEM2. And when you do that, it brings you up to right here. I'm just reminding people again as far as what the books are for the Spring 2016 semester. The Intro to .NET Programming class and the Relational Database Development classes are being taught by Denny Wright. The Intro to Java class and the Ajax class are both being taught by me. But those are the books for all of the classes. All right, so that's the first thing we looked at. Secondly, or the next thing that I had people do, was to go out and copy over the folder from the P drive, in classes folder for the class, and copy it to your H drive or to your desktop or to your virtual desktop, regardless of where, copy it wherever you wanted to copy it to. And hopefully there it is. All right, as far as what's in there, let me just quickly go over it with you. The first thing here says class website. And I'm just going to show you the final finished product here. You may or may not be aware of this, and some of you in the class are in one or more of my online classes, but for the two classes that I am not teaching, the two first-year classes that I'm not teaching in the classroom this semester, those being 152, 157 website development, XHTML, CSS, and 152, 163 relational database development. For those two classes, I'm teaching online versions of the class. And what I did for my 152, 157 class, and again, what I'm about to show you, I started this last summer, okay? But at the time, this is when Donald Trump was starting his run for president, which I found kind of funny, and I thought, well, he'd flame out pretty fast. Little did I know. But I created this website. It's very simplistic. There's not much in it. Here's the home page of a graphic. And I'm trying to remember where that, I guess it takes you to Trump's actual website. There's a full-length video here.
So nice.
I don't think
so nice. So they say we set a record here tonight.
You can't make it go to full size.
Now.
Some career highlights, etc. You can see I did a little bit of work here with shadow effects. Here's Trump on the issues. So if you click on any one of these, it brings you up his, some stuff I found in a couple of articles. There's also a podcast in here.
Today's podcast is brought to you by the Loop.
All right. This was a list of the candidates as of August 21st, 2015. Again, as you know, many of them are not candidates anymore, but just so you see that. This was a contact form. It was basically set up as an HTML5 contact form. So if I leave things off, notice please fill out this field. And so when I start filling in the information here, all right, now it's all filled out. But if I leave, for example, and the states got all the drop downs for the states. For the zip code, if I leave it off and I try to go on, please fill out this field. If I put in there 123, which wouldn't be a valid zip code, please match the requested format. But if I put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's okay. Dash. All right. Please match the requested format. So I could put in here 6, 7, 8, 9, for example. If I just put J. Scott in here, it comes back and says, please put in an @ sign, etc. J. Scott is missing that. So I can put that back in. And notice if I put my phone number in, it says here in the wrong format. Here and it just throws you to an HTML page that says thanks. In other words, everything that was in here worked. All right, here's a simple shop that I took right from the author's website from the 152, 157 class. So I can put things in a cart. See, there's a hat. All right, if I place an order, I can do all that stuff. This is taken again right out of your book. And there's also continue shopping. So I can buy a shirt. You notice I've now got one of each. Place the order. I don't think this totally works, but so place order. Says not found. This was from the author of the book site. But the point is, I'm going to show you that in a minute. The idea was I wanted to create a simple website for people and have something that they could use as whatever you want to call it, as a template or whatever. All right, there's 3 weeks left in the class. What I want to do this week is go over, I went out to a site that's called www.freehtml5templates.com. So I went out to that site. There's nothing amazing, fantastic, or whatever about that site. All right, I just went out to it and decided I was going to look through it, see if I could find a template I could use. All right, so what I ended up doing from there was I ended up going and there's about, 3, 6, 9 on each page. And there's about 25 pages approximately. All right. So what I did was I went out and looked and looked and looked. And finally, I think it was on page 17 with these different templates that were here, I found one that I liked. There's nothing magical, mystical about it, but I kind of like this blue night sky. So if I preview it, you can see what it looks like. All right, and the idea, why did I choose this? Well, first of all, this is just a static image, but I decided to change that and convert it into a little slideshow. Notice it already has drop downs. I like that. In here, we've got a few tabs: recent, popular, and about me. All right, here there's a little slideshow. Okay, it's called a Lightbox, and you'll notice I can go through all these different things. I can click next and I can go through all of the ones that are in here if I want to. If I want to stop at any time, I can just close. There's an article here and some other articles here. And then on the bottom of the page, there were some other hyperlinks. So I took that example, I downloaded it, and I started making some changes to it. I'm sorry if you hear noises in the background. I'm doing the wash and doing the drying at home, and it's a little noisier than it usually is. So what I ended up making from that was this. So again, here's what I got. That's what I downloaded right there. Okay? And based on that, I created this. So you'll notice there's a slideshow here, and it shows sunrise, sunset. There's 2 sunrises, 2 sunsets, and then like a nightfall. And the last night one that I found was kind of neat in that it looked like it had like a shooting star on it. You'll see that on the next one. So there it is. So what I did in class today was I went over what I did here. So I looked at the actual file to show it to people. So that's what I'm going to do with you in just a minute. So you'll notice that these now say HTML5, CSS3, and jQuery. Each of them has 4 different pages connected to it. In the first iteration of this, these pages, although they have been created, they're not there yet. So if I click on any one of these, it just goes to a page not found. All right. Along the side here, there's that recent, there's the popular, and under this site, I just put a little thing saying this website is a little bit under it's going to combine the best of everything, etc. I changed the heading to 152, 119 class website. That's what you see on every page. And combining the best of HTML5, CSS3, JavaScript, and jQuery. So you should see this in this header area on every page. You should see the Navbar on every page. But only on the main page do you see this aside that's right down here. And only on the main page do you see this Lightbox and these articles right here. Also on the footer area, that's the same on each page. So what I want to do is spend a couple minutes and show you what I did. All right, and again, we'll talk about that, take a look at it, and then I'll give you kind of a little preview of what next class is going to be about. All right, so if I go over here to where the actual file is, I want to open up both of these. So in other words, what I want to do is I want to come here, and this is under the 1130 folder. There's a folder in there called Class Website Templates. This is the one I created, so I'm going to go over right now that file, okay? And here is the other one that was created for me by the Blue Night Sky, and I'm going to go over that file. So you can see what I changed, what I left the same, etc. And again, I've got this in two different browsers. So there's the one that I copied, the Blue Night Sky, and from that, here's the one that I created. All right, just so you can see the difference. And I'm going to go through this, not line by line, but pretty much section by section, so you can see what's going on. Sounds like the wash is just about done behind me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this for just a second and see if I can turn that thing off. Alright, so let's continue on. So like I said, what I want to do here is I want to show the difference between what I started with over here to what I finished with over here. And while we do this, I'm going to bring up both of the index.html files and kind of go back and forth between the two of them so you can see the differences between the two. Let me close a few things I've got open here. So here is the one for the class that I made. Here is the one that came, the pre-made one, so to speak. So the first thing to look at, if you look on here and we look at the top, it's got Blue Night Sky. Your compelling tagline goes here. And over here we've got just a static image. Well, I changed that, at least the image part there. So what I have in mind, so that whole header area is right here. Blue Night Sky, your compelling tagline goes here, and there's the image. All right, the other stuff that's in here, and I did go over this today, and as I told the class, this should all be reviewed, but I have no idea what you learned from those of you who are taking one of the classes from somebody else, what you have or have not learned. So by now, everyone in here should understand the Doctype statement. This is the statement that basically lets the system know that we're creating an HTML document. And the new syntax for it is !Doctype HTML. And that's replaced back in the quote olden days where we had a lot of other stuff, but that's for HTML5. This says that we're using, it's an HTML, that's our HTML tag, our beginning tag, and it says we've added in here the attribute lang, which is the language we're using, and the value, which is EN for English. It should default to English anyway, but it never hurts to put that in. All right. Then on our regular head area, not in our header area, which we'll go into in a minute, but in our head area, which is the area that you see is taking up virtually all of the screen right now. All right. First thing we said was we're going to be using what? A character set, a UTF-8, so an 8-bit character set. Okay. The title was Blue Night Sky. I changed mine to 152.119 website. There was a styles CSS file, and we'll look at that in just a minute. I tweaked with that, but not very much. There was a print CSS file, and then there were some JavaScript files that were included in here. All right, so let's take a look at those. Again, this is the original stuff that was in here, okay? So you'll see that they have this right here, this line, that's jQuery, what you see right here. Line 9. That's kind of in a bluish gray there. All right. Then this simple tabs that's there, that was used for the tabs that we have right here. All right, so that's what that is for. The Lightbox, I already mentioned to you that again, the Lightbox is for what we see right here. This is for your own jQuery stuff that you're adding. And here's some more Lightbox stuff. All right. Now, just a couple things. First off, I expect that by now you understand what this line of code in here, line 14, that's kind of a weird yellow, what that is. That's called an HTML5 shiv. And basically it's set up so that if you're running your website on a version of IE that's pre-IE 7, might even be 8, I don't remember, it's 7 or 8. It's so that if the system is confused because, if the browser is confused because it's an old browser and you have some HTML5 tags that it doesn't recognize, it says just let it go through. All right, it's either going to take those tags, depending on what the tag is, and convert it to the equivalent of a div or a text box. All right, this is something I didn't add. This basically turns on the Lightbox. Okay, so everything is inside of a wrapper. And if you look in here, this is the author's header. I'm going to go back and look at mine in just a second. That's the author's header. Blue light sky, your compelling tagline goes here, and then the blue night sky. So in other words, that is this, this, and this. Well, if you look at mine and you compare that with this, you'll notice that there's quite a few changes. So let's switch over to my HTML and see what I changed. All right. Well, you'll notice I still have everything that's up till about, through my header section is pretty much the same thing. Okay, that's pretty much the same thing. I have a different title, of course, but let's just jump over to here. So here's my header section. So notice my header section goes from line 44 through line 58. So about 15 lines. The author's was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. So what's different? Well, notice I added the gallery in here so that I was able to go back and forth and show the different slides that I have. I had 2 sunrises, 2 sunsets, and 2 night skies. All right. This is my title. And if you do click on the title, you may or may not have noticed this, and I probably didn't even mention this to the class today, but if you click on it, well, I thought it was going to do something, but, well, it was supposed to. Let's take a look. H1, 150, 152, 119 class website. Trying to figure out href, HTTP. That was supposed to bring you out to over here, which would give you a description of the course, the 152, 119 course. I'm not sure why that's not showing anything, but as you can see, it's not. All right. Here was the slideshow, and notice again, under the one that the author created, there was a single image that was 940 by 200. So what I did was, for lack of better words, I cheated a little. I took my 8 images, none of which were 940 by 200, but I just changed the size. So if you look at this real closely, it actually is distorted in the way that I've got it set up. So if we go back and we look on mine and you look in my images folder, so again, in their images, there was the blue night sky. That was it. All right, 940 by 200. You put your mouse over it, it says 940 by 200. But if you look at mine, you go to my images, you'll notice that here's my sunrise, my sunset, etc. And you look at the size, you'll notice it's 259 by 194. All right, it's not 940 by 200. And these were all 259 by 194. All right, just the ones that I saved, those 6 different images. So what happens is by me automatically changing the size myself to 940 by 200, rather than going in and trying to physically use some kind of software that would change the size to what I wanted, it looks a little bit distorted. It still looks okay, all right, but it looks a little bit distorted. All right. Now there is JavaScript in here that is making that stuff work the way that it's working. And that's under the, I believe, jQuery.js stuff. That isn't it. No, that literally is just jQuery right there. I guess it's here under the slideshow stuff. Okay. So what is it saying here? Well, work with your active slide. And it says if it's at the beginning, okay, basically if you've reached the end, have it go back to the beginning. So do a wraparound, for lack of better words. Otherwise, check and see whether or not there's a slide that follows it. And just have it keep going. So go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6, then back to 1, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. That's what we're doing in here. All right. This is the amount of opacity we have. So it's not transparent, it's totally opaque with a 1.0. It says change it basically every second. All right. And we're having it remove the class. So basically, again, it's turning off the current slide and it's putting on the next slide. And it's doing that over 1 second. The actual interval between slides should be 5 seconds. So if we look at this, I'll wait till it changes. 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi. All right, you get the idea. All right. Okay, so next if we come in here and we take a look, again, this is the one that, the original. So I'm going to go to mine instead. So after we get done with this header area that's right here, the next thing to notice is we've got a navbar. The navbar starts on line 60 and it goes all the way down and through. It's pretty long, from line 60 through line 117, so almost 60 lines. That you see right here, that navbar, those approximately 60 lines are what creates this right here. All right, that's its sole job. And this is set up very similar to the one that you see from the author of the free HTML5 template site. So let's just go through one of these. You'll notice that what we have in here is we've got what? We came in here and we brought an unordered list. So there's the beginning, there's the end, all right? There's the beginning. And down, there is the end, okay? So if we take a look at it, let's just look at the HTML5 stuff that's in here, all right? And don't worry about this because I put some junk in here that didn't even work. So I'm going to just get rid of that. And move this down. All right, so here's the HTML5 stuff. Before we do that, notice we've got an LI here and it says index.html and we've got home. Well, that line that you see, line 63 there, that is this right here. All right. And what you'll notice, and I'll hopefully be able to give you a little preview of what we're going to go over next time in here, but what you'll notice is every page as we go through will have this same navigation bar. There are some people who think, well, it's the home page, you really don't need a link there that says home. But for consistency, I wanted every single page to have this heading, to have this slideshow, to have this navigation bar, and to have this footer. All right, so I purposely did set it up like that. So as you look through here, you'll notice that we have under the HTML5 stuff. So everything that you see right here between lines 64 and 79, about 15 or 16 lines, that is all the stuff that does this HTML5 and these things down below. Now these don't go anywhere when I click them. All right. And you'll notice that with each one of them, if I had just said href and if I just put a pound sign in right there, I'd be telling it not to go anywhere. But I want it to go to a file that's called HTML5 slideshow example.html, and its text will be slideshow. The next one to go to HTML5 contact form example.html, and its text, associated text, to be HTML5 contact form. The next one to go to HTML5 form validation example.xml, or HTML rather, and have the associated hyperlink text be HTML5 form validation. Then finally, canvas example. Okay? Then we have similar ones for CSS3 and for jQuery. I'm not going to go over those. I didn't in the class either. And that gets us down to about line 116. So you'll notice there's quite a few sections in here. So it is, even though there's some divs at the top here, okay, and here, etc., this really is an HTML5 compliant website. We've got sections that have sections inside, articles. We've got an aside down later on the page that we'll look at in just a minute. So there's a lot of stuff in here that pretty much, at least, is HTML5 compliant. Now, in here, the stuff that you see right here in lines 118 through 125, so approximately what, 7 or 8 lines. Those lines that you see right there are responsible for these things that you see right here, these 3 things. This is a little bit of a light box. Notice if I click on one, it opens it, and I can go to the next one, and I can go to the next one, all right, and close. All right, or I can bring them up individually and close. This is exactly the same way. This example that you see right here, it works exactly the same way as the author's example in here, where they had 6 different shots from waterfalls. Okay? So again, the code that you're seeing right here is the code that sets that up. Okay? And what I've got here is basically a hyperlink, and each one of these, I'm showing that it relates to the Lightbox. I'm showing what its particular title is. I probably should have put these all on separate lines, but then the file starts getting really big real fast. So you can start to see what's all in here. All right, so for each one of these, that's what we have. It's related to the Lightbox, its title, the actual image itself. I didn't put an alt tag in there, although I really should have. All right, I also could have put a height and width in there, but I kept it just the way that the authors of the original site did it, and set the class equal to frame it. So we've got one of those for HTML5's logo, one of them for the CSS3 logo, and one for the jQuery logo. So that's the first 130 lines of our site. And the site itself is about 315 lines, so we're almost halfway through. All right, so then we've got this thing here that says featured article. And if we look at everything that's right here, all this stuff that's there, 131 to 145, those 15 or so lines that you see right there, those lines are what is shown right here. That's everything that's shown right here. I didn't hyperlink this, although I could have. Notice with this one, not only does it open up the article, how to start or create a website, but it does it on a new page. All right, on a blank page. And I can do it either from there or I can do it from here. All right. I didn't have to do it that way. It's just the way I decided to do it. So the class is featured. the image, which is the thing that looks like the globe, so to speak. Here's the article. The class is featured title. Target equals underscore blank, which means open it in a new window. It was called How to Create a Website. I literally went out to that article and took the first paragraph or so, put it out there, and then I've got the word more in there as a hyperlink also, if you want to read the entire article. Then we've got a similar one to that on lines 147 through 159. Those approximately 15 lines are on WordPress. So that section that you see in gray is this. Again, I can open up that article by either clicking there, or I can click on the more, and both of them open up the exact same article. I could have, and I thought of doing this, I could have literally taken these icons right here and linked those icons up so that I could have gone to the WordPress.com page, the Drupal.org, whatever it is. I could have done that, but I didn't. All right. So again, what you see then on those approximately 15 lines are the setting up of that. Then on the next 15 lines, we're setting up our stuff in here for Drupal. So those lines that you see, those approximately 15 lines, that is doing this right here. And then the final, or the next 15 lines are doing the same thing, but they're doing it for the Joomla. Now, unfortunately, when I showed the class this today, I hadn't changed this. For some reason, this said building a simple Drupal website here and here. But you'll notice this does take you to a new window, how to build a website with Drupal. And this is same author, how to build a website with Joomla. He didn't have one for how to build a website with WordPress. Okay, otherwise I would have used that. I use the official logos for all of these. Okay, so that gets us through line 187. Next we have the sidebar, and the sidebar starts on line 189 and it goes down to about 249. So 189 to 249, about the next 60 lines. All right, and you'll notice that when we do this, the first thing that you see in here is we've got an aside that's got an ID of sidebar. We've got a div. We've got an unordered list here. The class is equal to tabs, and we've got 3 tabs. Tab 1 with an ID, or it's got here an ID of tab 1, tab 2, and tab 3. All right. I shouldn't even say IDs. Those are just hrefs for recent, popular, and this site. So those 3 lines or 4 lines that you see there, 191 through 194, those are these 3 tabs that you see up here. Well, then after we set up the tabs, we have to let the user know what goes into the tabs. So that's what's in here. So here's the first one. That's the recent articles. And you'll notice that if you go out there, if you go out there, advantages of HTML5, again, opens up in a new window. Much of the material that I took in here are the examples I gleaned, which is a polite way of saying pilfered, stole, whatever, from the site webcodegeeks.com. So there's the 10 major advantages of HTML5. There's the quick little Angular guide, Angular.js guide. Originally, I was going to have another thing up here for Angular, but this was just getting too big as it was, so I just left it at 3. And the Bootstrap Navbar example, there's another example. All right. If we keep going in here, and I'm not going to click all of these, but if we go over to popular, what you're going to notice is, under the popular, these again are all from Web Code Geeks. So if I grabbed one, the fade out, there you see it. Okay? All right. Then what's next? So that's that section. We got the what's this, and that just was a little bit of text that's in there. So that what's this. So this was the first tab. Here's the second tab. And I showed you the fade out one, or one of them from there. And here was the third tab that said this is kind of a work in progress. It'll be added to, etc. as we go on. All right. Then this section that's in here that starts on line 230 and it goes through line 248, so that approximately 15 to 20 lines that you see in there, that is the connect with us. So notice if I click the F, it goes to Blackhawk's Facebook page. If I click the little bird, it goes to Blackhawk's Twitter page. If I click the in, it goes to Blackhawk's LinkedIn page. And if I click the Flickr, it goes to whatever is there for Blackhawk's Flickr page. I didn't even know it had one, but it said here. That's what I found when I went and looked. All right. So how did we set that up? Well, we'll just grab one of these. We'll just grab the first one. We said again, this was an unordered list, and it was a list item here. So here was this is what, of course, made it a hyperlink. Told it to go to Facebook. And here was the image that went along with it. I resized and made copies of these so that I had icons that were all the same size. I went out to makeathumbnail.com, and each one of those thumbnails is 100 by 100. So again, that was the Facebook, the Twitter, the LinkedIn, and the Flickr. All right. Then finally we have the footer area. And if we go here, what you'll notice on here is, first of all, here was the original, remember. So look at the original, and you can see how I changed this. I kept this. All right. I got rid of this things to do because I didn't see a need for it. I got rid of this sponsors thing. And so now we have just this tab with these things. And then there's the connect with us. I don't like it when you've got text like that, even if it is hyperlinked. So I replaced that. So basically I replaced all of this that you see there in blue, all of that, I replaced with this. I just thought that was a little more eye appealing. Okay? Then for when we get down to the bottom and we look at the footer, well, remember in the original, their footer that's down at the bottom had 1, 2, 3, 4 areas. Well, that worked out nice because what I wanted was one area for HTML5, one area for CSS3, one area for JavaScript, jQuery, and one area for some legal stuff. And that's what I did. So for each one of these, I bring up first the W3 Schools tutorial in a different window. So for instance, there's the one for HTML5 right there. Then here's the HTML5 specification right there. All right, and here's the HTML5. This is the video that I found online. All right, then for CSS3, there's the W3 Schools tutorial. This next one may be a little funky. I might get an error message here, but I'll show you how I fixed it. Originally, it came up and it said this was a fact page for CSS3, but it's for some reason it's not working right now, and I'm not sure why. So what I did was I changed that, and I'll show you what I did. So this one should say right here under the specification, it should say http://www.css.info. This is what I changed it to. All right, so if I come back in here now and I go back to here and I refresh, it doesn't look any different, but notice when I click, it, oh golly, why isn't it going there? Let's see. 11:30. Let's make sure I'm opening the right one up here. Ah. Well, that is correct. Well, I'll tell you what, let me just show you it from here. I'm not sure why that's not showing anything different, but what that should be showing you, and I really didn't like the site much because to me, and I mentioned this to the class, well, what the heck? CSS3 info? There it is. Kind of looks like the Care Bears, if you remember that when I looked at it. For some reason, that's what it reminded me of. So it's css3.info. So that one should say css3.info. But again, I don't know why when I'm taking that now and I'm launching it. I think the reason is because I've got it's grabbing an old cached version of this. So let me close all of this. Just close everything. Just literally all of it. And I'm going to open it, but I'm going to open it in IE because that's a browser I haven't used for this. And when I do this, when I click on that, it should open up the right page. So you can see it looks pretty much the same. But when I go down to the bottom, or try to, now when I go to CSS3 specification, it should bring up the right. It's not. Golly. I'm trying to figure out why. Ah, that's why. Okay, because I changed the one below it. I should have known. So, copy that. Change that. And I'll have to fix this video right here. That should have been a YouTube video. And I found a bunch of videos from a guy that I kind of like, so let me go to youtube.com. His name is, I believe it's Derek Banis. Derek Banis CSS3. And that was the one that I'd gotten.
Only gold.
So, let me fix that. I just want to make sure all of it works when I get done, that's all. Alright, now let's try running it one more time. We'll go back to Chrome, which is my browser of choice. And now go to CSS3 specification. Of course it gives me an error. Oh, because I didn't. Nope. That looks a little better. Color looks right now. So going down to the CSS3, there's the CSS3 spec, thank you. And there's the video, still all okay. And we've got the same thing for jQuery. There's the tutorial from W3 Schools, there's their API specification, and there's a video, okay? For the legal disclaimers, all I put here was just BTC, and I went to the BTC homepage, all right? So what I attempted to do in this example was to take something existing like this and convert it, you know, grab the stuff that was in there, use that as a starting point, and then go in and change it to something that looked like this. All right? Now, what I'm going to go over next time, and for some reason now I've got this and I've been working on it, but I can't find it right now. But let's see. Examples, no. I got way too much junk over here. That's the one we just looked at. That's it, class website 2. It is here, someplace. This is what we'll look at next time. So the people in the classroom didn't see what I'm about to show you right now. Home is still the same. Notice the slideshow. I should have moved it over a little bit, and it starts real slow, but it'll pick up. I grabbed a bunch of Beatle album covers, and this is using an HTML5 slideshow to go. I think there's 8 different covers in there, so I go from cover to cover to cover, just so you saw that. Next is a contact form. I didn't do very much as far as making it look better, but you see that it did come up. Next is form validation. So notice if I grab all this stuff that's here and I click submit, it comes back and says please fill out the field. So if I come through here again, as we've been doing, all right, and if I put this and I don't have this being a valid field right there, and I tell it to submit, it comes back and it says please use the @ sign, etc. Okay, website. So if I don't have that valid, please enter a URL. All right, etc. You get the idea as we're going along. All right. And this canvas, this looks a little nuts. I found this demo online. It's supposed to kind of signify a bouncing ball. All right. Under the CSS, here was an accordion menu. For some reason, it's funky. I've got to look at the CSS. If I have time, I will before the next class period. This one looks fine, but the rest of them all look weird. It's kind of hiding behind here, so I'll have to look at that and see if I can get that to work. If I can't, I'm just going to leave it the way that it is. Background opacity. Notice what happens when I take my mouse and put it over here. See how it lightens? All right. Here's a CSS3 table and a little bit of work with the last child selector. Not really very much. The Jquery Accordion, this one works. Again, it could use a little bit of work as far as where it's positioned on the page, but it works okay. This autocomplete works. So for instance, if I type in A in there, it shows me everything that has an A in it when you take a look down here. You notice whether it starts with an A or just has an A in it is kind of immaterial, but it's anything that has an A in there, you can see it. All right. The third example, the form validation. I've got the form in here, but for some reason it isn't, my validation isn't working right. I'm going to try to look at that. Probably it won't be till Tuesday evening, and if I can get that to work, I'll fix that. Otherwise, I'm just going to leave it the way it is. And here's a simple tooltip. Notice it says this is a tooltip example. If I put my mouse over it, it comes up. This is the tooltip for the title. So all these pages work. There are 12 pages here and then our home page, but the home page is the only one that's dolled up, so to speak, and all of the rest of them look very generic. They each have the header area, they each have the navigation area, they each have the footer area, but the content I just totally opened up. All right, so that's what we're doing Wednesday, is we're going to finish that. Then we have 2 more weeks of class left. All right, and what we will do during those last 2 weeks of class, and this is what I showed people, and I'm going to show you right now. So this is what I went over in the class today. I've already got some stuff out there for the lecture for next week. So there's a 12.7 folder out there. There will be a 12.2 folder out there as soon as I get that hopefully working. But what I did was I went out, and this is the book that we'll be using for the 152-167 class next semester. And I grabbed from there the title page, the table of contents, both the shortened version and the extended version that goes through everything that's in there. I'm not going to roll through any of that. But what I will do next week, so starting on December 7th and 9th, is to go through chapter 1 of this book, just to get us going, so to speak. And we'll talk about getting ready for creating dynamic web pages, creating an AngularJS query and AngularJS jQuery and JavaScript friendly development environment, how to add JavaScript and jQuery to web pages, how to construct web pages to support jQuery and JavaScript, and how to create your first dynamic pages. So some of it will be review, and that's good. It never hurts. And then the last week of class, so the week of the 9th? I don't even know anymore. Let's see, 30th? So next week is the week of the 7th, so the following week will be the 14th. So the 7th and the 9th, we'll go over this. Then on the 14th, that last week of class, all right, again, what I'm going to do during that last week of class is I'm going to go over from the 152, 143, which is the Java programming class, not JavaScript, but Java. I'm going to go over chapter 2 of this book. All right, and just give people an introduction to the Java programming language, to the Eclipse editor, and we'll write a program or two, plus we'll go over all the material that's in that chapter. That's pretty much what I went over in the class today. So, hopefully everybody's now all caught up.